This is straight talk, lead to straight understanding. Straight talk. STSU. This is straight talk, lead to straight understanding. Straight talk. STSU. This is straight talk, lead to straight understanding. Straight talk. STSU. This is straight talk, lead to straight understanding. Straight talk. STSU. This is straight talk, lead to straight understanding. Straight talk. This is straight talk, lead to straight understanding. Straight talk. STSU. This is straight talk, lead to straight understanding. Straight talk. STSU. This is straight talk.
Yes, y'all. Yes, y'all. How are you? Straight talk leads to straight understanding. Sean Bolden, Sean B. Excuse my graphics. Y'all know how this go. But anyway, I just wanted to say how y'all doing today. So welcome to Straight Talk Leads to Straight Understanding. I'm Sean Bolden, as y'all probably know. Sean B. Some know me as well. And we're going to get into some topics tonight. Tonight we have a very special topic. It's a topic that I've been seeing a little bit of, in a lot of different places. We're going to talk about how it goes down. Topic is communication is the key. Understanding, though, is the doorway. Communication is the key, and understanding is the doorway. Well, y'all know in the past I've spoken to you guys about how communication, how critical it is, and how we need to continue to have it, and how it can help to a very beneficial, if not a very substantial relationship. And I'm not talking romantic relationship. I'm talking any relationship, because communication is the key in all relationships. So with that being said, we have to communicate. That is the key. But I got to give Wolf a shout out, because he's the one who brought this subject to matter with a video that we'll play tonight of his. Understanding is the door that you got to put that key into. So you could communicate, but if you communicate and you don't understand, then it's pointless. It's kind of like having a key to the wrong lock, having a key to a place or in a predicament that just won't help you. Could communicate all day, but if it's not understood what's being communicated, it's not going to help you. So as I was looking at videos on this subject, one person came to mind, and it was a last minute thing, and I called her. She's a very inspirational person. She inspired me. I told you about her inspiring, hot, honest, open, and transparent. Been on plenty of her panels. She's just a breath of fresh air. If y'all don't know, y'all will learn to find out tonight. And so she blessed me by saying she will join me tonight. So we are definitely going to be mindful of the time as always. But I don't want to have further ado before I introduce my special guest. And ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage right now is my special guest, the one, the only, the real Precious. Hey, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Man, thank you for joining me. I know it was last minute, and I really appreciate your time. So I really appreciate you joining me tonight. I was not gaslighting anyone or saying that, just randomly when I said you was the first person who came to my mind. I don't know why, but you was the first person who came to my mind as I was watching these videos. I think it's because I respect and really appreciate your perspectives, your points of views. And a lot of times we can have conversations when our pain is not a no, I'm just messing. That can be pretty productive and pretty sensible and not being triggered into this man versus woman gender wars. Although we can speak even when we have differences, different viewpoints or differences of opinion, we can speak rationally and maturely. And I appreciate that about you. So I want to say thank you again. And this is not, by the way, y'all, I told y'all I wanted her to be a special guest of mine. This is not the show I was speaking of. I do
I
appreciate
gotta
it.
come back.
Yeah, I want you to come back because I really want to speak about, being an adoptee and highlighting your new channel, which by the way, why don't you share with us uh right now so that we can at least start following you and understanding your new channel.
Yeah, so I created a new channel on Instagram and it is called The Adoptee Foster. And it is a community for adoptees and those who have been in the foster care system to belong and to relate. Adoptee and foster care is a taboo in just the world in general. And adoptees and foster care children don't use their voice the way that they should.
Hmm.
And so the platform is a opportunity for those to relate and to belong and to tell their stories as well. I'm currently helping 3 people. Now I just added a 4th. Before I came on the live, someone else reached out to me. But I'm helping people find their biological families. And so the Adoptee Foster is a new platform on Instagram. We go live on Real Precious Official just because I don't have enough followers on the Adoptee Foster yet to go live. So definitely go ahead, go on over to the Instagram page, follow the Adoptee Foster, just the way it sounds, the Adoptee Foster on Instagram. Go ahead and follow, and see people's journeys, see how other people have lived lives that they can't really walk in their truth. And then you just get to hear different perspectives. Last night we went live. It was a great live with one of my friends, Jay. I met him on social media, but he's just done a great job of connecting me with so many people in the space. And we talked about children aging out of the foster care system because it is a real thing. It is a big topic within foster care and how children age out. They never get adopted. And when they age out, they're not, given resources. They don't have the love and compassion to, be grounded in to be able to survive this, dark, lonely world. And so we had a great conversation about that last night. So definitely go and check it out. That's on Real Precious Official, but I always link the 2 pages together. So when I do, get the followers on the Adoptee Foster, we can go live over there. So I appreciate you guys and follow.
Oh, absolutely. I want to support however I can. I will say that, sometimes I'm at work during your lives, but when I'm not, I have tuned in and I really enjoy the content that you're providing.
Yeah.
Is the perspectives that you share with us are perspectives that, especially if you haven't been around the foster care system or the adoptive system, you don't know about. And so there
Right.
were so many things that you brought to my attention that I was amazed at. I mean, one, for example, I remember you were sharing with me how fosters or adoptive parents might make the child feel like they're an obligation or they're a trophy. I don't remember the exact words that you use, but to where you should be happy that for this circumstance. And you shared with me that that's not always the case initially or immediately. That's something that you grow into if
Mhm.
you do.
Yeah.
And understanding that helped me understand that, wow, because I might have been that other side to where I thought, yeah, you should be appreciative when in fact you schooled me and let me know that sometimes it's not about not being appreciative, but it's that adjustment is something that one is hard to adjust to, and two, you don't know what that young person's past is. So you
Mhm.
don't know where they are in the time that you receive or you guys encounter one another. And if you don't take the time to try and learn that, you can come off very condescending, or you can come off very heartless at times because
Yeah.
you're really not having an empathy for the person that you have engaged yourself with.
Yeah, okay, Sean, you've been watching. You've been watching.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. Uh-huh. So with that being said, we're going to head into the first video so that we don't lose time, and then we could discuss it. The first video is by a gentleman by the name of Wolf. I just know him as that because I see him online, and I enjoy a lot of his perspectives. Most, I would say, I don't even think that they make little clips saying this guy never misses and this, that, and
Yeah.
another.
I know who Wolf is. I remember him actually starting his journey. So he's
Wow.
actually come very far. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I do appreciate his content, and when he brought this up, this is why I chose the topic, because I saw this video. So we're gonna look at the video and then discuss a little, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
What I heard was
That's not the right one.
men are
That's the second
allowing
video.
us to do things. Now, the only way that you can
Okay, we're gonna try it again.
Consciousness
Video number one.
elevation is revealed by
That's video
communication
number
evolution.
5,
A
sir.
person's
Bear with us. We are having a little bit of exchange, but it's all good.
I don't know
It's
who
my
needs to
fault.
hear this, but please
it's-
start listening to your partner to understand them instead of
number
just
3.
listening out of obligation. You're just doing your part.
We're gonna try 2 more.
Yeah,
It only
no,
could be one
Unpopular
video.
opinion.
Nope. So
Expecting
last
that
and
man to
final
lead when
video
you
that
don't
we're going to have is coming up right now.
that have that perspective
There we
of
go.
actually seeking to understand where a man is coming from for their own peace of mind, right? It don't even got to be about the man, but just to be able to be on one accord and knowing like, okay, I received the message that you're giving off. One of the things that I frequently say to women is, what are you receiving from what I'm saying? Because I want you to reiterate to me what I just said to make sure that the point that I'm making landing, at least in the arena of where I'm sending it from, versus me assuming that you understand where I'm coming from. And it gives me the opportunity to further elaborate, which allows for us to have effective communication, because we often hear people say that communication is the key, but understanding is the door.
That part.
You can communicate all day and tomorrow. If what you're saying is not being understood, then the communication wasn't effective.
Yes.
One of the things that I got harp on and focus on is being good at choosing the right words to deliver what I'm trying to say, because people don't understand that words really have meanings, and because they have meanings, different things mean different things. So you can't say, oh, you know what I mean, or you get what I'm trying to say. Actually, I don't. The word that you're saying doesn't align with the message that you're sending.
Yeah.
Like, people take explaining themselves as an insult. Like,
No.
if I ask you to explain yourself, you take it as a, what the fuck, you don't get where I'm coming from?
Yes.
That's a compliment and a respect to the opportunity to be able to say, I want to be on one page with you. So I would like you to tell me how you got to X. Like, you know, when you're doing math and they be like, solve X, they don't want you to just tell them the answer. They want to say, how did you get there? I gotta show my work. Yeah, like, no, show your work so I can make sure that the route you took aligns with what I received from what you said.
So, Miss Precious, that inspired me to do this video because I did like the fact that he said communication is the key, but understanding is the door. And man, I think this is what made me want to speak with you about this.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on the video as well as that statement?
I agree with everything that he said, because understanding is the door. If you're trying to get from one place to the other, and you're still trying to be a cohesive unit, and you're trying to work in harmony, working in harmony means that maybe I need to pause and take a step back and really, you know, understand what someone is saying and understand where they're coming from. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're agreeing with what they're saying or you're agreeing with what's coming out of their mouth, but you're taking the time to pause and really see what the purpose is of the communication between two people. And so understanding really is, like you said, you can communicate all day, but if there is no understanding, then you're really not talking with someone, you're talking to them. And you usually talk to children because you have years of experience, you know, on them. And that don't even really mean sometimes that you're really talking good to them. But you talk with adults. You talk like me and you are talking with each other right now so that we can understand each other to be able to deliver a message. And so understanding is huge, and it's huge in every single arena that you walk into. You can't really grow with a human being unless you understand them. And I was always raised with in everything that you get understanding. If I don't get understanding, I don't get anything.
True that. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Turn on the light a little. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And interestingly enough, the next video, I'm not going to start it yet, but the next video kind of highlights an exchange between two people, man and a woman, where all of these things are going on. The misunderstanding, the person making a point of view still not being understood. There's a lot of dynamics to it. It's a longer video. It's about 3 minutes. So we're going to pause in between because there's a couple of subjects or a couple of topics that are being spoken about that I want to address. And I want to give you the opportunity of what the lady is doing. And I want to give you an opportunity to address what the man is doing when we do that as well. But I agree with you as far as the video, and I thought it was a great topic to speak on, because a lot of times we do communicate and we even think we communicate well. But I always use the example of, if you go to another country and let's say you know Spanish from here, from a Puerto Rican or a Dominican, but then you go to Spain and you're speaking Spanish, but they're not understanding because they have different words. So you're speaking and communicating, but really you're not connecting. It's just as bad as not knowing Spanish at all and going there and still trying to communicate. When I go out of the country, I'm just happy to know that they understand what I mean. I could know a word or two. I could know a few words, but I'm like, hey, buenos dias, señorita, hombre. And, oh, you hungry? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. And that just fulfills me at that moment. And that's what helped me understand that communicating is not always the key, because if you're saying see, but you're talking about the ocean over there, or trying to say the beach, and you're like see, and they're like, yes, and you're like, no, see, you're communicating, but you're not effectively understanding one another, and it's somewhat pointless is what happens just generally.
Right.
But then specifically in relationships, and I'm not just talking romantic relationships, even in business, when you're not on the same page, you limit your success or your ability to have success.
Yeah. And honestly, with understanding, understanding takes you digging deeper, right? Usually, like, you just use business. And, in my neck of the woods and what I do, in order to understand my client, I have to ask them questions. I have to ask them probing questions in order to get, any type of information to understand why, the circumstances are where they are with them. And then I have to, take that in, be sympathetic or be empathetic and be able to fix, whatever issues that they have. But first,
Right.
I have to understand them. I have to understand how you do business. I have to understand why you do business. I have to understand your thought process behind a lot of what I see in front of me. And
Mhm.
so, with understanding, just because, again, someone is communicating with you, and you might be nodding, your head the
Mhm.
entire time, but like he said, I have to ask you questions to really know if you're receiving the message that I'm, delivering. And if you're
Right.
not, then I have to find a way to then deliver that message in a different way. But I need to know whether you're understanding me or not in order to even move forward,
Right.
in the conversation.
Right, absolutely. So with that being said, it segues into our next video. Now, our next video, it's philosophical on a panel, and he's speaking to a young lady named Bo. And they're having an interesting exchange. Peter, I'm going to say triggered when I want you to stop, because there are triggering points of view that I want to tap into, and I'm going to trigger something that it might trigger or not. I'm not sure, but I'm going to trigger it anyway to have your point of view when philosophical is doing certain things or saying certain things that might be triggering to women. So and plus it's a long video, so we want to kind of cut it up. So
Okay.
with that being said, let's play this second video, which is the one with the panelists.
What I heard was men are allowing us to do things. Now, the only way that you can not allow us to do things, you don't really have anything over women to overpower us than strength. If we took your strength away, if we were the same physically.
Triggered! Pause. Now, the reason why I got triggered there, Precious, is because we aren't the same.
Right.
And
We can't
this
start
is
off.
right. And this is the point that I don't know whether they made it or not, but she said, if you didn't have none of if you just didn't have your strength, we would be the same. You're right. But
No, we
that's the
wouldn't
big
though.
if.
We still wouldn't be the same because you would still have something hanging from between your legs that I still wouldn't have. So
Man,
without that frame.
Ooh, and I didn't even go in that direction. I'm just like, that is what separates us in a very direct moment, is that we do have that. And regardless, dismissing it or not wanting to acknowledge it, it doesn't negate that it exists.
Right.
And whether you like it or not, that is one of the differences that we have. And when women take the position like, well, if you didn't have that, we'll be the same, it is triggering to me, because I'm like, what we do, this is part of why we're different. And not saying one is above the other, because I don't even want to go in that direction. But the point is, we have to acknowledge the differences, and that's one of them.
Right.
You could continue with it. I'm through.
How would you rule over us?
I'm gonna answer that. I'm gonna answer that. But this is the thing: we don't want to do that.
Hold
we
on.
don't want to. But this is the thing.
Hold on. I just want to. I want to say, I am not being combative. It's what I heard. This is an honest question. I'm not being a smart ass. I'm really asking an honest question, because what I hear is it's your strength that puts us in our place. That's just what I'm hearing.
That's what you heard. Exactly. Though respectfully, that's what you heard, because women put their hearts on their ears. I didn't say that.
Pause.
What I said was, we are not.
Pause. I just want to know, he said women put their hearts on their ears. Was that anything that triggered you as a woman?
No.
Okay. I figured it, but I just want to, because there are people who sometimes, or women that do that, and him identifying and pointing it out could be a triggering moment. You could continue, Pete.
Made to bear burden more than you are. But what you heard was, we're over you, because women today are designed to look for any nuance to feel rejected or feel attacked.
No.
That's how the modern woman's mind.
Okay, it paused naturally. I didn't ask it to pause, but what I was going to say, I'm glad you did pause it. Precious, if there is a moment where you do want to pause, just go ahead and say pause or stop us, and we'll keep it going until then. You go ahead.
Is designed to just look
No.
for discrepancy. It is the fact that we gotta sit here and talk. Listen,
Illa, please
Go
don't
ahead, go
tell
ahead,
me. Please don't tell me how my brain works, because if I am telling you that I heard something and we're in honest dialogue,
did I say that?
that's what. Hold on, I didn't say you said you. Do you see how my words work and how your words work? What I said is what I heard was. And I'm allowing you the room to explain it, right? Because I could be wrong, because I said I could be wrong. I wanted you to explain it. Hold on. Because you have to understand that sometimes the words in which you use to explain something may come across a different way. And if I am receiving it a certain way and I'm giving it back to you, I am allowing you the room to explain it a different way.
Okay,
That's
so give me the room. I got you. But let me ask you one question. Did I say that?
No, you
yes
didn't.
Or no? Yes or no? Did I say it?
You said it.
So yes, that's what I'm saying. Follow me. I'll take you somewhere. Did I say that? Yes or no? Did I say
I'm
that?
following you, but
Did
what I'm telling
did I
you,
say that? Yes or no?
I told you you didn't say. I don't. How many?
Okay, so pause. So pause.
Yeah, pause.
I didn't say that.
Pause.
This is one of the reasons why I stopped doing these panels. I'll just go be honest.
I understand.
Because how many times? Okay, she explained what she heard and what processed in her mind, right? However, he said numerous of times, or asked her, but is that what I said? And she goes, I'm not saying that's what you said. I'm telling you what I heard. And then she then said that she was giving him the floor to expound on what he said. And then, he goes into asking her the same question again. But it's obvious that she took what he said and jumbled it around. You know that game of whisper down the lane, right? It's like, let's whisper down the lane, and then by the time it gets to the last person, it's not what the first person has said. It's what they think in their mind through the various people that it has passed through. And now the message that was in the beginning is not the message at the end, right? And that's what happens when you're on these panels. Like, everybody gives their perspectives and things of that nature, but they're not necessarily listening and really receiving exactly what the person is saying. Because if you want to know what he is saying, repeat back to him what he said, not what you thought he said, not what it felt like he said, not the emotions that erupted from what he said. If you want to know what someone is saying, part of understanding them is this, because, I've gone to college, I've taken plenty of public speaking classes, but the public speaking one-on-one. So what I heard you say is, and then you repeat back to the person what they said, but you don't make up in your mind something else, or you don't give it a new meaning because emotions have now entered the chat. When you want to know what someone said, or if you're reiterating what they said, you should say exactly what they said, and then tell them how that, evokes certain emotion out of you and things of that nature. Wow. So, that was a prime example of her emotions. And that's why I can understand why he used that, that phrase of, you put your heart on your ears, because it's like, those are the earmuffs that are on your ears. Take them off, so you can really hear what I'm saying and really come to me with, something substantial, and not us going back and forth about what I said, because people can clearly hear what I said, yet you decided to, remix it. We don't need the remix.
Wow. Man, you touched on a lot of things that I was thinking, But another reason, like I said, I wanted to get a woman's perspective that might not have an emotional earmuff on.
Mhm.
And that this is too why I was like, you immediately came to mind. Um, but let's continue and see how they interact with one another.
What did you say? I heard. How the hell did you hear something I didn't say?
Okay,
Like, how did
I'm
you hear
gonna
something I didn't
explain it.
say?
I'm gonna explain it one more time.
You
The
felt
way
that.
in
You didn't hear
which
anything. You felt it.
Neil, you asking
Hold
a real
on, I
question.
know that, and it is okay for me to have feelings. What is wrong with men
That's why y'all got
Pause.
allowing women?
ears, because you can hear something.
Yes, this is he's gonna make the point that I'm thinking. And it's kind of ironic because she's kind of displaying, because earlier on I didn't put it in the clip, but he's about to repeat it. He said that women don't make good leaders. No, that men are naturally leaders. He didn't say they don't make. He said men are naturally leaders, and that's why women don't lead. And this is kind of where he's segueing into relaying and continuing that point of view. And while I would love to argue with or debate that perspective, her positioning, what is wrong with us feeling? Nothing is wrong with you through a conversation that takes logical exchange. We all feel,
Mhm.
but it does not mean that we could negate the logic or the understanding of what was actually said. And we so many times see that happen. And I want to say I see it happen often in women, but I don't want to be gender specific because men do it too. But majority I see it in women. And it bothers me because, or it might even bother more than me. It might bother men because we start feeling like, oh, am I crazy? Is something wrong? I literally said this, but you translated that. And we don't always get that. You
Yeah.
could continue unless you have something to add.
Nope, you can continue.
Okay, continue.
Hear it at all. That's not a leader. That's a follower.
Neil, let
Dylan,
me finish, my dude.
I'm allowing you the room to explain it differently so that I receive it a different way. It is okay that my brain heard something different. I am giving it back to you so you can hear how you sound. So you can probably explain it a different way, because if women are hearing what you're saying and they are responding to you a different way, it is because that is the way you are coming off. And maybe you could change the manner in which you explain it so that women can actually get what you're saying the way you're saying it.
Okay, I'll respond. I'm not mad at you. You don't have to agree. But let me respond. Let me respond. Because I'm cool with not being agreed with. I can sleep real good at night with women saying he's me. I'm good because they still like me. So what I'm saying is this. I didn't say that. That's what you heard based on what you felt. So even in that dynamic shows you why you're not a leader, because y'all go by what you feel and not what's actually being stated.
Neil, let me
Every
ask.
woman don't feel what you felt when they heard that, Bo. You're speaking for the women who do. And we can't judge based on a panel how many women heard that versus how many other women heard that. That's not nothing we can figure out. So let's deal with what's said. I didn't say that. So if you heard something I never said, that is a mental problem. Because I'm not going to hear you say something verbatim and say, you didn't say that. What I said was we're naturally made to bear burden more than you are. That's all I said.
Well,
right.
man, and like I said, if I didn't have someone who I could speak to about this, and lady, you could bring that video down, put us up, please. If I didn't have someone to speak with, I can come off as misogynistic. You know, I've been called these things, misogynistic, chauvinistic, and so on and so forth, when I'm just really being realistic.
Mhm.
And it bothers me because that point of view is becoming more popular. And a
Which
lot of people are her point of view
okay.
saying that it's all right and it's okay and what's the matter with this, and getting to the point where how Illa responded, this is why that's a mental thing, to where now he's looking as if he's bashing and being abrasive towards her, when in fact he might just be addressing something he's observing, and because he's so frustrated and passionate now about it, that it's coming off that way. And so I wanted to have a conversation with someone, a lady specifically, that might be able to help me understand, are we crazy? Are we misogynistic? Are we bashing this young lady who I didn't get that impression that he did that, but I understand how someone might.
I can understand how frustrated he was getting. I think in situations like that, especially when you have viewers and people who are watching this exchange, and conversation, you have to, and instead of fueling the fire, because I learned, early on when I was in my YouTube journey, I wasn't worried about views and likes, and I'm still not, right? It's about the message being delivered and someone catching it. And so very early on, I realized that a lot of this was for likes and clicks and baits and things of that nature, right? And so when it's for that, you're going to get very little understanding. You're not going to get as much understanding as you would hope. Or maybe the viewers who are watching, who are looking to say, let me check this out tonight. It's a new show, or somebody recommended this to me, right? And they go and watch the show. While it may be a little entertaining, to a certain extent before you want to turn it off, that situation there, while, he didn't say what she said that he was saying, he did have an opportunity to break it down. However, he did point out, her due diligence to continue to say what he did not say. And the only issue I have with that is, if you truly want someone to understand, and then he eventually did say it, more men are just made to bear burden, more than women. And even in that, they probably should have circled back, like, okay, so this is what you said. So what exactly do you mean by that? When you say that phrase, men are, and some women will get it, and then there will be some women who don't. And she's one of the women who don't. And so the people who don't get it, instead of bashing them, instead of embarrassing them, break it down, as if she was a child, because sometimes women can revert back to being children. Mr. Lego says it all the time, and women hates that he says that, but it is, he has some truth in when he says that, because it's just like, okay, you're not saying it my way, you're not saying it the way I want, you're not saying it the way that makes me feel good, so you're not really saying anything. I don't know what you're saying. And you know how that phrase, break it down to me like I'm a 5-year-old. That's what you have to do with women sometimes. And it's not that you're belittling them or that you are, making them seem, unintelligent, but you really, women are receivers. And so men have to remember that as well, right? And so just because you're delivering a message that sounds very logical in your brain and sounds very, it's very coherent, and, it's not much room to get it wrong, yet a woman will get it wrong, we're receivers. And so if we're receiving something in a certain way, we shouldn't be faulted for it. We should be corrected. And I always say that women need to be corrected, because women, they don't feel as though they need to be corrected. But, that correction will bring about that emotional regulation, because now you're regulating my emotions in a way that you don't even realize you're doing. And some men are just they're just over it because they're over women being committed to misunderstanding them. And some women are committed to misunderstanding men, and some women really get frustrated because they don't know how to convey their message in a way of just saying, I didn't understand what you just said. You know, instead of saying what you just said was because y'all are stronger, if you took away that strength, then y'all would be just like us. Instead of saying, when you said that men can bear, you know, more burden than women, what exactly are you saying? Can you break that down a little bit further? You always want to, you use that math equation, right? You break it down to the simplest terms, the simplest. Like you can round to the nearest thousand, you can round to the nearest hundred, you can round to the nearest tenth, but break it down to the simplest terms when you're talking to women, because you want it to be simple. You know, you don't want it to turn into something that it's not. And a lot of times it turns into something that is not with women because they can't understand what men are saying at the simplest terms.
Wow. I couldn't have broke it down better. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go into the third video, which kind of gives two perspectives. And what we're going to do, it's about 2 minutes long. So I'm going to allow it to play. If either one of us want to stop it, we'll just say pause or stop and address whatever it is we want to address in it. But it's a woman's point of view and a man's point of view. Go ahead, sir.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but please start listening to your partner to understand them instead of just listening out of obligation. You're just doing your part by letting them speak because you're tired of hearing that they never get to say what's on their mind. Start listening to them to understand them. And if you don't understand what they're trying to convey to you, ask questions. That's the real meaning of communication.
I used to be a good communicator. And then I've had experiences where I've had to shut down because me trying to understand, it's an argument, or now I'm being difficult.
Oh, yeah.
So now it's just like, all right, you know, and so now you have this guarded and this, all right, energy when it's like, well, you know, now you are trying to understand and now you're afraid to be like, well, I don't want to argue, you know, or I'm not trying to be, you know, combative. I'm just trying to get an understanding of 100%. What's going on. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it just depends on your experiences.
Yeah. And the patience of the man. Like I tell men all the time, like, we can't expect y'all as women to see it the way we see it immediately. Just like I tell women, you can't expect him to feel the way you feel immediately. Like, that takes some work through. It's like, I have to be able to rationalize before I can empathize. And a woman has to be able to empathize before she can rationalize. And if we don't create that pipeline to be able to say, look, allow her to feel before she thinks, but you gotta allow him to think before he feel. Because I gotta make sure that I actually feel based on what I think.
Yeah.
And if not, you'll have those situations where the patience disappears because it's like, why you don't get it? Like, that's actually a pet peeve of mine when I see men get impatient when a woman don't understand. Because I'm like, bro, that's literally like, no disrespect when I say that, but it's no different than when I gotta explain something to my daughters. I have to break it down in a way that resonates with where they receive information. I have to, even if it requires me to. That's why everybody not meant to be teachers, because it's like, if Johnny had 3 fucking apples,
absolutely,
you know, like that. But you kind of gotta be like, you know what? If I want to be regarded as the leader of this situation, I have to create a space for her to follow me at her pace. I can't try to rush that.
That's good.
Well, there we go. Oh man. So I'm gonna let you start this one.
Well, like you said, everybody's not meant to be a teacher, right? However, in a dynamic of a man and woman, the man is expected to be the leader, right? And leader and teacher don't mean the same thing. And so there are men who do have that impatience of trying to get on the same page and understand why their woman is not understanding them, because now it went from, you know, you talking about something and trying to get understanding on that something to now the woman's not understanding, and now we're on why she's not understanding. We've completely moved away from the you know, the main topic. And so, you know, it does take patience, and it does take, like I said, explaining it down to as simplest terms. And, you know, a leader does have to have patience, and a leader also has to have the ability to say, I don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it out.
Wow. Well, I'm smiling for a couple of reasons. One, I remember several times on your show where my patience was just not there. and it wasn't just towards women. It was sometimes most of the time with the men.
Mhm.
And my patience, and I had less patience with men than I have with women, because I'm used to understanding I need to have patience, even though I'm still working on that. That's still a work in progress. My patience isn't always there with the women in my lives, and that's why I resonated what he said. I understood it very clearly because I sent it to all the women I know, my mother, my daughters, etc. Because, and I said, I'm still working on this.
Mhm.
I'm learning, because it definitely resonated with me. But I have a lot more, like he said, it's a pet peeve of mine when men start displaying like they don't understand certain things, or they're showing impatience in certain, we can't do this. Is what we need to do in order to conquer the issue in front of us.
Mhm.
And this.
Mhm.
Say you don't want to do it. Let that be the thing. Don't start, nah, we can't. Nah, say you don't want to do it. All right, cool. I can understand that. But when you
Right.
start blah, 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 I get triggered immediately and I start going at them, over talking. I don't want to hear what you got to say no more. Nah, it's not. And you've seen it. But it's a display of that type of what he said that I really resonated with me was, that's why sometimes we I believe he said this. It started with a D, and I can't remember right now. But he said discouraged, something along those lines, where he got the men get discouraged, or I'm not gonna play it back. But anyway, the point is that that's when we start losing our patience and we start displaying it in manners that it shouldn't be displayed.
Right.
And I agree with him in that manner. So
Yeah, and that's why I said the last video before this one with Philosophical, I completely understood where he was coming from. However, if we're going to keep the main thing, men and women are different. And so when she is telling you this is what I heard, and you continue to badger her and be like, well, you heard that because you have your emotional ears on, and women think like this and X, Y, and Z, all those things could be true, Illa. But at the end of the day, are we getting down to the nitty-gritty of understanding? And getting down to the nitty-gritty of understanding is sometimes leaving those facts that about women out and bringing in, again, what you said. Men don't have to do the rigmarole that women do with the emotions. And, it's almost like he kind of went down her lane a little bit. And it's like, no, as the leader, you state what you have to say. She tells you what she thinks that you're saying. And no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this. You can leave out all those other things because it just wastes time from actually getting to the understanding. And again, that's why I stopped my time. You know what I mean? Because no one really wants to understand. They want to listen to respond, and they want to listen to entertain. And I'm here, to grow. None of us have arrived, and every day we can learn something new. But if you sitting and you talking to someone and y'all supposed to be having an adult conversation and you do want understanding, the back and forth is unnecessary. And it's just a display of why people don't actually get down to understanding one another, because they're pointing at each other's flaws or pointing at each other's, mishaps and areas where they could grow. And then instead of giving them that opportunity and that platform to grow and actually making it visible for the world to see on how you actually redirect the conversation back to what you were actually saying, if you don't give that the platform the opportunity to do that, it's not going to do that.
I agree. And what's interesting is that becomes a difficult dynamic trying to, and I've learned this by being on your panel several times. You shared it with me. You can't fix everything. You're not. You're not God. I forget the words exactly. I'm not quoting you, but it was along those lines, and it took me some time to really fall back. And sometimes, and what I learned this from several people on your panel is you got to step back and let it go. If they're not able to receive it, you have to recognize that they're not there. But the difficulty that I was sharing with you when that becomes difficult for me is because you then at times observe things. And when you are observing it, I have the problem with when I see something, I automatically say what I see. And it doesn't always come off well if somebody's not ready to receive it. And it's not that I'm insulting them or that I'm complimenting them. It's that I'm observing them. And I'm sharing my observation that sometimes can come off, depending on what you're looking at, negative. But that's what I'm seeing is negative. If that's how you're taking it, it's a possibility that it exists. So I'm not going to continue on this soapbox because I want to get into the last two videos. The first one is just a lady speaking about a man and his leadership and what's necessary. And I think you'll probably agree. And we'll get over this one real quick because it's self-explanatory. Play video number 4 with the young lady.
Unpopular opinion. Expecting that man to lead when you don't listen is crazy work. And most women, not all, are actually not good listeners, but they require their partner to have good communication skills. But in order for a good communication to happen between two people, empathetic listening must take place. Empathetic listening is whenever you focus on the perspective and validation of the other person who's speaking to you. Most women are defensive listeners, which means that they're focusing on the trigger words that's going to come from it, right? The perception of the comment that you're saying, they go into defense mode about. So immediately, instead of focusing on a solution, we're going to focus on what you said to me and how you said it and why you said it to me, knowing who I am to you. So in order to have a good communication style between you and your person, you have to learn to listen. And if you're not the best listener, that's okay. You can learn to listen. It's actually a skill that can be acquired over time. And it's not a bad skill to have. Some of us actually have to learn to listen.
As I said, self-explanatory to me. If you want to say anything to it, sure, please.
It is self-explanatory. Again, when I came into this space, a lot of people were shocked by the way that I was able to sit and listen, right? And I would be like, I don't understand, what's so foreign about that. And they're like, you don't understand. Women get on these panels and they're just and you just sit there and you're just listening. And I'm like, yeah, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to listen. And listening, you do gain understanding about people. But listening is something that you learn to do, because I wasn't always like that, right? And so, going through therapy and, professional training and, just different areas in my life taught me that I have to just sit and listen, literally. And in order to get to the other side, or in order to understand, or in order to gather information, or even in order to, tell my side of things or my perspective, I have to actively, she said empathetically listen, but I believe in actively listening. Actively listening, meaning that I can repeat back to you a lot of points that you made, within communicating with me. That's actively listening. I think empathy comes later, because in order to have empathy, you have to really be able to put yourself in that person's shoes. And in order to do that, you have to actively listen to them first. I can't even show you any empathy if I don't even know what you're going through, or I don't hear, about your situation. And so, that is something that women can practice, and you practice that by just shutting up. By maybe you have to cover your mouth and physically, stop yourself from talking, or maybe you have to turn a different way and not look at the person's face, because facial expressions can be triggers to women, right? So sometimes you have to practice things that will stop you from wanting to jump in, from wanting to say, no, but I meant this. And no, what I heard you say was no. You have to sit there and just let them speak. But then when you go to communicate with them and talk with them, you then repeat back what you heard. And if that's not what you heard, you say to the person, can you please repeat what you said? Because maybe I heard you wrong.
Right.
and it's okay to say that you heard someone wrong. Maybe you need to, again, let me sit back. Let me actively listen this time, because maybe my active listening ears just weren't on the first time, and that's okay. But a lot of women do have that defensive listening, and you say something about women, and one woman wants to defend all of women, and it's like, who am I to be defending all of women? You'll never see me be like, oh, well, you can't say all women did it. Well, for one, I know that it's not all women, but there is truth in what you're saying, and I'm not going to be defensive because I am a woman, and I think that happens a lot. A lot of women get defensive because they are a woman, so they think that you're talking about them. I don't take offense to anything anybody says about a woman, because I'm a woman. It's not
Well,
my case.
I want to pause there to say another observation, and I've shared it with you plenty of time. This is why many see you more than just your name, Precious, because it's a precious, refreshing point of view. And he's putting up some of the comments that we've had, and so I don't mean it, just because you're here and just because you're. It's refreshing to see, like you said, you're not defending yourself because someone speaks about a woman's tendency. And I've learned that exercising some of the things you mentioned through your panel. I learned to sometimes, here's a skill that I ask people to exercise, and I've been exercising. I write down my notes so that instead of just jumping in, as I have the tendency and have seen myself do, I started learning to just sit back, listen, and write down the points of views that I want to address. So with that being said, we got 3 more minutes, 2.5 minutes. We're going to go into the last video, which kind of summarizes, I think, what we're saying, and you'll be able to get it. And I hope everybody else will be able to get it, because he's speaking very articulately. If that's go ahead, sir.
Consciousness elevation is revealed by communication evolution. A person's level of maturity is often exposed by several factors directly connected to how they communicate. What they converse about, how they relay their thoughts in conversation, who they choose to engage with in dialogue, how attentive they are when prompted to listen, and most importantly, what don't they say? If after years a person is still talking about the same things the same way with uncontrolled discourse or poor listening, either their consciousness is cloudy, they're emotionally underdeveloped, they have unaddressed issues, or they're self-absorbed. With maturity comes the understanding of the importance of heightened speech patterns, a greater level of attentiveness, and the seriousness of the words we allow to leave our mouths. I just turned 47 on April 29th. If my conversation, preaching, content, or interactions are identical to what they were when I was 37, then I'm most likely dealing with some form of arrested development that needs to be addressed properly. We really do have to take into consideration the importance of evolving in our communicative abilities. If the subject matters or our expressions of thought aren't maturing, then most likely the soul isn't either. And sidebar, with maturing should come the realization of how unimportant our opinions really are. Some personal views and thoughts felt should be kept in our minds. If it doesn't edify, elevate, or educate, leave it locked in the vault. Shoes and food.
Shoes and food.
Woo!
I've been following him for a long time too.
Absolutely. We follow a lot of the same people. I've learned, starting with Pastor Darius Daniel, which you're a member of his church for a long time, probably prior
Yeah.
to me knowing him. And when I learned about him, breath of fresh air. I feel like I'm a member of each of them. I'm a member of CCC in New York. I'm a member of Change Church, Jersey and Atlanta. I'm a member of Cali Worship out here. I have no limitations to my memberships across the
That's
country.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like again, I'll go back to that Illa video. While what he was saying was true, to get down to understanding, you could leave some of those things out. You can leave that out and say, okay, I see that you believe that I said this. However, this is what I said. And then give her the opportunity, because he gave it too much air to breathe the minutia of it all. Like, we didn't get down to the actual conversation between the two, because they were going back and forth about her not understanding. And I agree with your conversation and your communicative skills having to evolve. Like I said earlier in the live, none of us have arrived, which means that there's always room for us to grow and learn. And if we're still having these same conversations, again, that's why I stopped having these conversations, because it's like, okay, how long are we gonna go in circles? It don't take me long to realize that we going in circles. But again, if it's for entertainment, let it be for entertainment. But if you're really trying to change your community and further your community along, then you will display those things on a public platform for your community to then eat off of. But if that's not really your purpose, that will show as well.
Absolutely. And I think with that being said, it showed both of our purposes have that in alignment. And I'm glad that you joined me tonight. And I appreciate the last minute coming along. And I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, because I love hearing your perspective. I love, what we used to do, what we continue to do. I love it, because I did learn a lot from it. And I did come out with a lot, whether it was after I processed it, or whether it was during the moment, or whether it was before the moment. And so I enjoyed that. And again, you're precious. I don't want you to forget that. I don't want that to be overlooked or go over anybody's head. It's not just a name. I don't know where you got the name from, but it's fitting. So Precious, I appreciate it. With 2 minutes over the hour time limit, I know we all want to get some rest. I want to say what's up to Craig. I want to say what's up to Paul Bennett. I want to say what's up to White School, Stephanie White School Bennett. Yes, Coach Bird. A lot, man. All of these folks. Man, Lucas, we're out of here, bro. I'm sorry. We're not going any further. Mr. Bennett, we're not going any further, but I appreciate you all for joining us. I appreciate you all for having us. And most importantly, I appreciate you, Precious, for joining me and being able to have this conversation and share your point of view and your perspective. And as always, it's refreshing and it's precious.
Well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate you as well. Like I told you on the phone, I'm like, tonight's my night. It's been a long week already, a busy week, but I said, you know what? Sean is like family. And, we've been trying to get me on your platform for a while now. I said, you know what? Let me get out of, my own way to be able to be present for you. So I appreciate you. I enjoyed the conversation. It won't be my last time here.
Thank you. Thank you.
And hello to all in the chat that have supported me over, my social media journey. Love you guys.
Yes, we love you. And we're going 3 minutes over time, but it's well worth it. Thanks again, everybody who joined us. We love ya. Love is love. And may straight talk lead to straight understanding in your life.
Have a happy holiday.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Happy holidays. Say it again.
I said, have a wonderful holiday. Have a Merry Christmas. And spend some great time with your family and friends. And remember the reason for the season.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let there be love, let there be safety, and let there be embracing of spiritual enhancements all over your lives and all over ours.
Yes.
You see, the real king is in here.
I see him.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. And I wish we had more time, but we don't. So we're going to be out of here. Have a good night. Thanks again for joining me. And Straight Talk leads to Straight Understanding. We might not have a show next week, but the following week we will. No, we won't, because it might not. New Year's and Christmas Eve might be off. I'll let you guys know. All right. Have a good one.